All right, well, welcome back. We are in session for Public Works Committee for refer to the previous meeting that we had for City Council that brought for Iowa Code to allow us to have this special meeting for traffic study or traffic concerns that we have in the 12th Street corridor. Throughout, bring this meeting to order, by the way, and I will turn it over to start with to Director Schrage to give us an overview of information regarding 12th Street.
Sure, I guess I'll do the best I can without any data or other information in front of me. 12th Street from Hudson Road to Main Street is generally 35 feet wide, 25 miles an hour. 12th Street in general is classified as a minor arterial. There's one classification above that is basically principal arterial. That would be the interstate system. Minor arterials are intended to carry traffic, similar to 1st, 12th, 18th, University, all those east-west connectors right there. Those are all minor arterials intended to move traffic. I do not have any current counts to date. Obviously, we do not want to do those with a signed detour route off of other minor arterials. We got 18th Street closed, we got 12th Street. There is more traffic using 12th Street right now, so obviously that data is gonna not realistically reflect what it would be on a normal year with all those other streets open. And I believe a lot of you, I don't need to allude to the fact of what a four-way stop analysis consists of crash data, volumes, and is there one other? Speed into account, that's one other criteria. I do have a little more information, I guess. Crash count, Director Birdie provided me, I believe, maybe last week, 24-month crash history at the specific location of 12th and Clay. I believe there were 6 accidents, one related to swerving for an animal and rolling the vehicle, and most of the rest, I believe the 5 related to traffic traveling north-south on Clay, a failure to yield at a stop sign, whether that means running the stop sign or failure to yield upon exiting the stop sign. That's really all off the top of my head information that I have, so I'd be happy to entertain questions.
Yes, Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Chair Schultz. All right, so obviously, it's possible that, like you said, past data is not going to serve us right now because we have Main Street closed and so many things closed. So I guess my question would be for the special meeting, what could we do in the short term that would be implemented until that construction's done, and then we can look at the longer term? Is there something that you guys would recommend that we could do as far as a temporary four-way stop and other things, or something just to get by until the Main Street's opened up, and then we can reevaluate, essentially making
Sure.
that this isn't the end all, but it's really going to help at the moment. And plus there were other intersections, I believe, that we've heard about, so maybe we look at those. So that's my question. What can we do in the short term to really
There
help
could
the
be
situation
some
out?
temporary signage and things. It becomes difficult to temporarily put up a stop sign, just for the fact of the normal traveling public that travels that every day either get used to it, or once it becomes temporary, it becomes basically permanent then thereafter. We did have one on Greenhill and South Main due to one of the stages of construction, but we can look at some sort of signage until we can collect additional data. But if we're gonna collect data for a four-way stop, we can't have a stop sign up there
Chairman Schultz.
to count the.
True.
Mr. Sires.
Can't we have, would be a flashing light, what you have on Union Road? We've got several of them. They use them for the bike trails where the kids could come up and push. It would be a temporary thing, run off batteries, have it just work during the time they go to school, time they come home, where they could push those and have those flash, have cars either stop. It's got to be something like that. Those cars are really moving, and to have those kids be unsafe, it's a terrible problem.
That is a consideration. I know that Mr. Wiki covered a lot of the different types of crosswalks and criterion, painted, signed, unsigned, RFBs, which you're referring to is what we call an RFB, a rapid flashing beacon. Keep in mind that the comment then thereafter potentially could be the lights flashing, we push the button, and the vehicles don't stop.
I understand.
That's not the
But it's got to
intended
be
use,
something
but-
better than what we have, and we
Understand.
need to get something so those kids are safe. I didn't even think about it, but I probably know on the other side, on the south side of 12th Street, kids that would have walked to school. But it's right now, it's amazing how much more traffic there is because of the construction. And, well, it's tripled, and they're fast. So we need to do something so these kids don't have to run across the street.
Thank
What?
you. Mr. Harding?
I know they haven't spoke yet, but I was just going to throw out, I'm going to take it anyway. At Hawthorne, there used to be a button that you pressed and it turned a light red, and the kids would cross to go to Cedar Heights. It's gone now, and it's different than an RFB though, because you press it and it's a stop, it turns red and you got to stop. Anyway, do we still have that? Can we use that? You know what I'm talking about?
I do. I believe there was one on Washington Street before we reconstructed it a few years ago, but it's a non-traditional traffic signal. But most of those, similar to the one, there was an overhead signal in North Cedar on Center Street that were removed and replaced with rapid beacons, similar to Round and Hawthorne.
So that's a mobile or something that we could quickly put up, or is this a monument structure?
I don't know what you're referring to, I guess, sorry. The one that's out there today is an RFB.
It is.
Round and Hawthorne.
I was talking about the old one that was there till maybe like 2 years ago. It got replaced with an RFB, but it used to
Talking
be.
about the signal.
It used to be a signal. You press the button. It was always flashing yellow, and then you press the button, and it turns red, and cars on each side would have to stop, and then the people could cross. I just thought we probably still have it in storage. It may be an option that we wouldn't need to change an ordinance, that we could just get that out there. We may still need to change an ordinance, but we could get that out there, and the kids could press the button. Being that it's a red light, people are trained to stop at red lights.
So this
a
is
little more so.
positioned on
On each side, yeah, you press a button and there's one on each side. It has like a double, it's hard to describe, but it's basically a red light.
Mr. Ganfield, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Chairman. I think we went away from using those signals, and the RFBs do make sense in those areas. I wouldn't necessarily see we need to do that, but I'm going to go in a little bit different direction here. Instead of talking about an ordinance change, obviously the street is 25 at least at 12th and Clay. Director Birdie or Chief Howard, what ideas do we have for better enforcement, especially during school crossing times? Could we post a dedicated reserve officer there to issue citations? I gotta think a uniformed officer is gonna be a lot more incentivizing for compliance than, some concerned citizenry. So I guess that'd be my first thought, without changing any ordinance whatsoever. Post somebody there to make sure this is safe until we can figure it out. So the speed limit, the crossing, we know that you aren't allowed to drive through a crosswalk when there's pedestrians using that crosswalk, but they also have to wait until it's safe to cross. If they can't find a safe gap, we're telling first graders that they need to step out in front of traffic that's going 40 miles an hour potentially. We can't have that. So what options do we have for a crossing guard? Could we partner with a PTA or a neighborhood association, or post somebody there? What options exist?
Well, I would say, first of all, regardless whatever's decided tonight, we'll support that with enforcement. And if we have to do extra enforcement and spend money, spend overtime dollars, we'll do it. We can do our best at posting people there, but one thing I would remind you, we get complaints down a little farther by Division Street. You guys have all received those emails. You get on the other side of Hudson Road on 12th Street, the entrance to Quail Ridge. So the 12th Street corridor for us is something that we've been spending a lot of time enforcing. And it's nothing new. For my 33 years, we've been enforcing it. But whatever we decide, we can throw additional enforcement at it. It comes at a cost, Sure. But we absolutely can, so.
Yeah, I just think, I know obviously all of us up here hesitate and
I would tell you, we already are, so,
Yeah.
but we can do
Okay.
even more, so.
And I think their experience has been that it's not enforcing, or at least it's not changing public behavior, but none of us want to think about the cost that would come if somebody were injured or worse. So I think that would be at least something that maybe this committee could talk about encouraging, and then we'll talk about what actions maybe need to happen at the future special meeting.
You know, one thing I would mention, kind of like Director Schragi said, you know, the traffic behavior on 12th Street is going to be very similar to traffic behavior on 4th, 18th, Round, Cedar Heights, any of those minor arterials. You know, those roads are made to move traffic, so it'd be very similar traffic patterns, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Excuse me, Mr. Sires, Mr. Cruz was up next.
Patiently waiting here.
Yep, go ahead.
So on 4th Street, we have 2 speed bumps. I don't know of any place else in town that we have those, but I don't travel everywhere. And I think they're as effective of a slowdown as anything you could come up with, because I can think of airports that I've gone around, and it nicely rearranges everything in your trunk against the ceiling of your lid, and it slows you down. You're not going to cheat them. You're not going to get by at the middle of the night and go fast. A speed bump, to me, would be an ideal fix. Why don't we use those more in the town? Is there a reason for that?
I don't recall the 4th Street, and I know what you're referring to where they're at. I wasn't around during that time frame, obviously. But I guess I'd like to say that speed bumps or humps, or whichever one you want to refer to, is generally they're not used on arterial roadways. Arterial roadways are intended to move people across the city. That'd be like, for example, a speed bump on 1st Street.
Slow it down.
You
I
can
mean,
ask the DOT that.
If we got dump trucks and construction equipment going fast, and I'm guessing that they're paid an incentive to get this road done as quick as they can, is it not the case? That, right?
I don't think there's incentive pay on this one, is there, Chase?
But, okay, so
But
maybe not.
anyway.
I mean, they're traveling to get the job done and move as much dirt and then go down these streets. A discussion with the contractors would be one thing that I could see, saying, hey, you folks are driving too fast, you know? That just seems to make sense.
I was there on Saturday. They just hauled ass.
Well, talk to their ass then, you know? It's like, geez, I mean, come on.
All right. Yeah, Susan?
Is our speed trailer currently in use, or could we put
It's-
that out
it's
on
there.
12th? It's currently on 12th.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
was
half a
requested
block
last
away.
week, and we got it out there. It's at eastbound, right between 12th and Franklin, 12th and Clay right now.
I guess just one other thing that I didn't mention before is you can look at other minor arterial roadways. I guess that section of University Avenue, and similarly 1st Street, is crosswalks are strategically placed where we would like the pedestrians to cross. Pedestrian crosswalks every single block, similar to 12th Street, would become problematic, similar to they are now. So we ask, you know, if pedestrians feel unsafe, that they find a route that they do feel safe at. If there's a protected signal, similar if you're walking down 1st Street, you're going to walk 5 additional blocks to get to the actual crosswalk at the signal.
Okay, I can understand the definition of the minor arterial, but I don't see a comparison between 1st Street or University Avenue compared to either 18th or 12th. Those are 35 mile an hour, 2-lane, 4-lane with a center turn lane. These are 2 lanes. So I guess where I want to move this to is some solutions that are temporary, but that can, you know, obviously there's going to change next year, but what can we do now? Mr. Hardy?
Question, is there a crosswalk at 12th and Clay currently?
Correct, yep.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to, you know, I agree, something temporary. That button that you can press that makes the light turn red, I mean, we use that constantly on Round Street. Round Street's essentially very similar to 12th in that it's 2 lanes, it's 25, but people travel extra fast on that road all the time. My kids would walk to school, we would press the button. It's unless we have extra RFBs laying around, we could see if we have those and we could try them. That's my vote, or one of my ideas to throw out there for them to bring back. I'm open to other ones, but I feel like it's a simple idea. You press the button, it turns red, cars stop, people cross. It's an idea.
Thank you.
That's one I'd like to see personally.
Other?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, Mr. Cyrus?
we spent an extra $10 million on Main Street. I think we can find a solution to this, whether it's hiring somebody when the kids cross, whether it's morning, noon, and night. That's not a big ask, and I think that needs to be done. A traffic light would be great, like Simon said, but the money is immaterial, and we need to get something done there. So I'm with Simon. I think we should have a stoplight there that the kids press the button. Because we had that, when Lincoln School, that was the 1960s, on Franklin, we had a button that we pushed and went across the street to the playground, because the playground was across the street, Gil remembers. So we need to have a few of those lights so the kids can safely get to school.
Chair Schultz?
Yes.
Okay, if anything, if I could possibly get down with anything, it would definitely have to be a temporary solution. But my concern is, okay, so you're on Clay Street, there's 2 blocks to Main Street. So when you're stopping traffic, it could potentially back all the way up into Main Street. Am I wrong in thinking that?
Correct.
Especially if you're doing a 4-way. So you're alternating, and we all know how alternating 4-way stops. So you're really slowing down, which I understand we're trying to slow people down, but you are congesting traffic at that time and causing additional dangers. So I hope we all are thinking about that as well as we're talking about this.
Mr. Chair.
Simon was up next.
There's the light just flashes yellow if no one presses it. So it would continue to flow except for at the busy times. That's kind of why we liked that. When they took it out on Round Street, I got lots of calls that they wanted it back. And I said, well, we have the RFBs there. And over time, those calls have subsided and people do like the RFBs. But I could guarantee you if we had the amount of increased traffic that they're seeing on 12th, that I would get calls to get that light back. And honestly, when they took it out, I was a little concerned because the light was great. Yellow all the time, just flashing, press the button. It was like a 30-second or so, it'd turn red and
Oh, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
My kids go to Cedar Heights too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why, if anything, I could possibly get down with something like that. I am not, I don't think we have to stop traffic at all times when there's not a pedestrian present, is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it's,
Okay, so I believe Dustin was up and then Daryl.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I don't want to beat a dead horse on this, but I think the lowest common denominator here is that the ordinance is already 25 miles an hour for our rate of travel. Even if we go changing the speed limit, if we go changing the stop signs, things of that nature, any law is only good as the enforcement of the law. I'm not insinuating that we're turning the other way, but how many citations do we issue in that corridor? If a casual observer can see that nobody is traversing it legally, an officer should be able to see that and incentivize some compliance via citation. So sticking an extra officer there during the high safety times is what we can do tomorrow, instead of waiting for an ordinance change or trying to change through a traffic study. If we want people to go at 25 and we know they're going 38, then we stop them and we cite them to encourage them to travel at 25 so that everybody's safer. Can we get behind that starting tomorrow, we heavily enforce citing, speeding, and especially violating pedestrian crosswalk safety there?
I would tell you we absolutely can, and we already are. So we will. We'll put more people out there, but we are absolutely enforcing the laws out on 12th Street. Our police chief himself has been out there enforcing the law on 12th Street. So
Okay.
I don't have a number of citations right now or how many stops we've made, but it also has to be balanced with all of the other streets in the city. You know, we have X amount of officers, so.
Well, think of it this way, Director Birdie, you're not having to patrol Main Street or 18th.
That's true. That's
so we're kind of moving that traffic, we're moving the officers, so.
Mr. Chair, could I,
It's Daryl. I'm sorry, Daryl, before you go,
could I maybe just
Mr.
offer
Gaines.
up some solutions? I've heard a number of things, and maybe this is what I'm kind of hearing. So one of the things that I heard is delineate the crosswalks. So we could move forward with painting the crosswalks to those for lack of a better term, those piano key looking crosswalks. Get some of those pedestrian signs out. We've got them in a number of places that we can put out on each side of those. Potentially even during the school hours, get out some type of a crossing guard in the morning and evening time periods for now. And during that, also increase patrol as we can in there. And then also, while all that's going on, potentially do some type of a study to look at getting an RFB out there as well. And an RFB would take a little while anyway, chase for order and everything else. So that may not be an option for this year, and at least have the crossing guard out there for the time period that we're seeing a lot of activity with children. That may fall off in the winter. It may not. So those are just some suggestions I heard. So that maybe
So I'm going to repeat those, Mr. Gaines. So we talked about staging an officer, increasing patrols, delineating the crosswalks with new paintings, pedestrian signs like Chase put out there on towards Pheasant Ridge. I had a question about the crossing guard. I know there used to be a crossing guard at the center of the block between 9th and 8th. Was that a city employee, or is that is that person somewhere else right now?
That's a city employee, and I don't believe right now we have that person, right? Okay.
This would be reassigning some type of a city employee. I'm rattling these things off without talking to the directors, so somebody may be mad on their reassignment.
And those crossing guards are city employees, and we also have a couple backups. We can explore that.
So that'd be great too. And then
That doesn't need an ordinance, does it? Can't they start that tomorrow?
None
Yes.
of those things that we mentioned would need an
Well,
ordinance.
let's start that and then get a light.
Yep.
Second.
And I guess my question for Simon is, are these lights like concrete with a pillar, right? So it's not something
No,
tomorrow.
well, that's why I brought it up, because I know RFBs take a long time to get, and we have to order them, and they're expensive. I thought that we would still have the light from Hawthorne and the ones we took out and replaced with RFBs. I thought maybe we could just use it temporarily, and that we may have it, and it would be free, / we already paid for it.
Why were those taken out, Simon?
They were replaced with RFBs.
Why?
I don't know.
Mr. Sires,
Excuse me.
But that's
Schultz?
that's another conversation.
it's another conversation.
But anyway, that was my point, was that maybe they're in storage, and I don't know. And if there's a reason why we don't want to use the lights, I'm all ears. I thought, hey, we could just grab them out.
I honestly don't know if we still have them, and it would probably take us just as much time to retrofit them as a temporary sign than to order some other type of signage.
Okay,
So,
Mr. Cruz, and then back to Mr. Sires, I think is the order.
okay. The speed bump on 12th, because it's more of a major arterial, isn't in the cards, but Clay Street is a slower residential street. It has 2 bike lanes on both sides, so the perception, it's a wide thoroughfare. Why couldn't you put a speed bump on that? To me, that would,
On Clay, you're
Clay.
talking about?
because I'm hearing people saying that Clay traffic is way over 25. And that, to me, the speed bump is my preferred way to deal with 24-hour speed enforcement. And it's on 4th Street, and I don't know where else in town, but I don't know why we don't look at that. The cost of that is pouring concrete. There's no lights to fix. There's no, maybe you paint them white stripes on them so people see them. But that, to me, is a definite slowdown.
Okay. Mr. Sires,
Oh, I just asked Simon why they took the lights out, because it doesn't make sense. If they were there doing good function, why did you take them out?
They weren't good function. 3 of them were spray painted black and weren't working for 2 years.
Why didn't we fix them?
They're non-compliant structures.
But we couldn't repair them even though they're
You
non-compliant?
could
aren't
put
they
a
good?
traditional compliance structure up, which would go over top of the roadway, similar to a traffic study or a traffic signal.
I can't remember. I feel like the one that was on Hawthorne had, I could just be misremembering, but I felt like it had wheels or something,
They were
didn't.
I think they're permanently.
They were permanently in there? I can't remember. But anyway.
Yeah, that's, when, the way you were describing, I'm not familiar with ones that were, the ones I'm thinking of are monuments. They're concrete base in the ground,
They were a little short.
and they weren't.
They were just short and they had, so I'm probably just misremembering the wheels or it was wishful thinking. But either way, it's not possible. I get it.
Well, appreciate the discussion. I appreciate putting Mr. Schrage on the spot. I'm not completely sure on public forum. I know that the people that did come back, we heard you and we understand your stance, and that's why we're here, right? And so if you're fine, I'm not going to put you through that again, but any other further discussion? Yes, Mr. Harding.
Just about,
Excuse me, Simon?
Yeah.
I got, Mr. Green, did you want to do public forum, or are you making a clarification?
he was going to ask what I was going to ask. I bet.
Mr. Mershon wanted to talk.
Okay, yeah, yep. You need to come to the podium.
I think it was Cruz, you said something issue about the speed humps not being able to be installed on 12th. What was that? Did you say?
Because it's a major thoroughfare is what,
Minor
He didn't say you could not have a speed hump. What?
Okay, so we'll leave that as a, yep,
Yeah,
we'll
but-
leave that as a question.
I'm not,
Oh,
Backing off
okay,
that
I just
opinion.
heard you state that he said that a speed hump could not be installed on 12th Street.
I may have misspoke, I'm sorry. But I'm just pointing out in my follow-up comment, Clay Street from testimony.
Right, that's an issue too.
Is an
the speed.
issue, and
Yes.
to me, that is a definite slow me down.
Yeah, let's slow them down all around town.
Oh, anyway.
Okay,
You know, why stop on 12th? Let's go to 18th. Let's put speed humps everywhere. Let's slow the traffic down. The report from the Main Street corridor says when that roundabout goes in, the flow of traffic is going to increase. What's that going to do to 12th Street? Increase the flow of traffic,
It would
right?
technically.
I mean, that
decrease
was
it.
what the report said of the Main Street corridor report. So there's no, he did not state a hump could not go on 12th Street, just for the record.
okay, thank you. Thank you.
I think he's just worked up, you guys, because I almost got hit by a car when I tried to stop. And the kids, and Kelly, I would like to direct you talking about it getting slowed down and there could be a buildup of traffic. There already is right now. You can't get across Clay. It is a major issue. And if you, since you're on the council, want to come out and sit with me, I would love to show you. But it's not about the backup, it's about
Okay.
safety. And if backing people up is the issue, because actually Becky Mudd wrote me and said the same thing. Everyone who lives out in that area, Sam Winger, she said the same thing to me. I got inboxes and they said, well, Rach, we don't want backed up traffic. This is where we all cruise. Well, I know your kids live there, but in the hood where I live, the kids cannot get across the street. I can't get across the street. The elderly neighbor can't. My mom's house has been hit. The other neighbor right across the street has been hit. The other neighbor had the car in his, and it's not a major arterial road. It is not a major. It's called a minor.
It's a minor arterial.
Yeah, it's a minor.
So it is not a major. So we can do these things. And so I don't want to get you guys rubbed the wrong way, because we just want the safety of kids. I want my mom's home that was built in the 1800s, one of the original homes in Cedar Falls, Iowa. It's beautiful. I want her home not to get degraded. I do not hurt a window, because you can actually feel the vibration of the traffic of all those cars. It is violent, it's a vibration, and it's scary, and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be 25 miles per hour. And I know you said that you guys have been patrolling it, but I am outside walking my dog all the time, and I have not seen anybody get pulled over. And where the speed trailer is up at the top, right near Bancroft's, which Bancroft's Flowers, they also are in a complete uproar. they didn't show up tonight, but their customers, they cannot believe how bad it has gotten. And when you come and that trailer's up there, people see it, but it should be at the bottom of the hill, because the problem is, people, when they're at the top of the hill, if you guys go out and look, you'll see it goes from the top of the hill and then it goes down. And so right here down is where the kids are crossing, and is right where my mom lives. And the people, when I'm seeing them go 35 up top here, what do you think they're going down a hill? Have you guys seen Sonic the Hedgehog? When you get that roundabout going, and that gets going real fast, those cars, because I know on University, it's scary. I don't even like the roundabout. I'm like, okay, here we go. And they get going. How much faster are they going to be going past there then? This isn't a solution to wait to do like he wants to do in, when it's done to get non-skewed data. This is no, right now, take care of the kids and take care of my mom's house.
Rachel,
This
you got a
is
minute.
1800s house. Okay, I'm just saying, you guys, come on, we gotta do something. You guys gotta figure something out for this. And the kids do need a button. And their lives are worth something too, Lincoln and St. Pat's kids.
Okay.
Can I comment on the RFBs as well?
I believe you've already had a rotation, so, well, anybody else? Okay, Tara?
This is not about convenience. On this minor arterial road, that my home is 10 feet from the road. I was asked by Larry Buchholz, who did a study. He put the little things down in the road. Do you know how fast those cars were going? 90 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour. The tree across the street, the big oak, walnut tree, is still damaged, and it took I don't know, it probably took 6 hours to pull that car out of that tree, and the people disappeared. We never did find out where they went. That's how violent it is. I mean, we're like in an inner city. This isn't not about convenience or traffic backing up. To be quite frank, that traffic is so backed up. Honestly, in your letter, how long did it take you to get across Clay Street that night? Across 12. Long time. We sit outside and we make bets about how long it's going to take. Do you know how long some of those cars have been sitting right in front of me, watching me on my front step? 20 minutes. It's been 20 minutes. There has to be either a four-way stop or a speed bump. A speed bump? I think there should be a speed bump throughout this entire town. The people are so entitled, and everybody has a big car. Everybody. Nobody has a little normal car. They're all driving huge SUVs. That road is vibrating so hard with all the Benton, the concrete trucks spinning round and round with the concrete. And that road is so broken up that there are flowers. I have had hubcaps fall off of people's cars and swing by my head when I'm taking the garbage out. It's out of control. Yeah, it's completely chaotic. It's frightening. So I don't even know if the kids even, I hear what you're saying with the light. In theory, that would be good, but the drivers are so incredibly entitled and disrespectful that I don't even know if they'll slow down if there's a red light. I think there should be a speed bump. I do.
Thank you. And back to council. Mr. Harding.
Well, where we're at right now is a passionate place of, we're going to start with the gradation of the thing, some more signs out there, and we're going to look at getting someone out there during the times. That's something we can do right away, okay? So staff's on that, and we appreciate that. As far as the next point of business where we can actually do something would need to be that special meeting, and at that special meeting, we would need to do two things. One, we would need to schedule it first, and two, we would need to see what options would be available as far as, if there's something to push a button for the kids or whatnot. And And that's a time when we could look at more data, and we would have time to collect all of the actual data, because I do want to do something immediately, but at the same time, I do want to see the data, and I want to read and look at more. I want to make a decision based off of logic and all of the factors. So that long speech all brings it down to, when do you want to have the special meeting? And I think we.
So I think we can do a kind of a voice nod or a voice on if we want to, and have the availability to do it within the 24 hours. And would that 24 hours be when we first said that, or would it be 24 hours from?
Posted, once it's posted.
Posted, so it'd have to be Wednesday.
Okay. So
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning. What is, what's the yay for Wednesday morning?
Before we move forward and do that, can I ask what additional information you're looking for from staff at that meeting? Because because 24 hours, they don't have time to put together any type of traffic count, speed study, any of that stuff. So I want to make sure that the expectation of what information you're looking for. You know, if it's another meeting like this, just to have the conversation.
Right. So I'm just asking the question, Mr. Gaines. Do we have traffic counting equipment? Is that something we have to hire somebody to do, or do we have the cables in the box that counts traffic?
Our staff does that.
Okay, so we would have at least 24 hours of, which is, that'd be something less than nothing, and we could understand. It would be somewhat representative of a typical day. So there's data for that, and there'd be, I would think, I appreciate John's looking up on the internet, but if we had police records or crash data from intersections along 12th Street, but other than that, I guess I'd look at council, what are we looking to have reported out at the special? Or what's our outcome of it?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Daryl.
Daryl's hands was up
Yeah, go
first.
ahead.
Okay. I'll go back to the speed bump again. I'd like to get some information at the next meeting from Director Schrage on the pros and cons of speed bumps. I mean, size, bounce, push up on the back. Why don't we use them? Does snowplow people don't like them and they feel that the rapid flashing beacon is better, or have they phased out over time? I mean, I'm thinking of some of the airports that used to have them. They're gone. I mean, they were to the point that your rear end of the car went up enough that you almost separated your shocks and your suspension. I mean, you didn't speed over those. So to me, they're a 24-hour vigilant slowdown.
Okay. Mr.
I mean,
Cyrus?
I want to hear that. I want to hear that.
Sure.
in-
I got it on the list.
Okay.
Mr. Cyrus?
I just want confirmation that we're going to have a guard there when the kids go to and from school
Yes.
every day starting tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay.
And then I would like to see some sort of us look into a light. I think that's important to have a push-button light. But as long as we get that crossing guard first, that's the most important step.
So the light would be one of our agenda items on our special meeting.
Right, and then one more thing too. When I first got on, I called, he was then Chief Birdie, and I don't know if he'll recall this conversation, but I do very clearly. I said, we need to get a Dragon car like Waterloo has, where we set that car here and there, and it has radar in it, and that gives tickets, just like Waterloo has. And he told me I needed to talk to Ron Gaines. He didn't talk to council people. That was exact. Do you remember it? Do you remember
Yes.
that conversation?
Yes, absolutely.
And I didn't call you anymore after that, and I talked to
No,
Ron Gaines.
I would say,
So there it was, but we need a car like that we can set all over town. We need a couple of them, because the one thing that always worries me is when I see kids out, man, I slow down to 10. I pray to God that they don't run out in front of somebody. So it's always worried me, but that's the only way we're going to get people slowed down. So that was always my thing. Never came about. I never talked to Ron about it, but we need something like that in Cedar Falls. That's all.
So actually, speed cams, I think, would be a totally different
conversation.
Oh, I understand. I'm just pointing that out. If we had one of those cars, we'd put that there and we'd put it everywhere else where we have
I
these
understand,
problems.
and I think
That's
at
it.
some point, that's going to be addressed throughout the city. Mr. Harding?
So I think if we're going to do a traffic count and all these other things, we really need more than 24 hours. We have a plan of a guard. We're going to get some paint down. We're going to get some more signs immediately. I just don't think it's fair to say, go out tomorrow and drop all the work you already have scheduled, count traffic, prepare this report in 24 hours, and get it to us. I would really like to have some time to gather some data and get it. I feel a little more comfortable doing that now that we're going to have a crossing guard out there and we're going to amp up the signs. I just don't think it's fair to say we're going to have this meeting Wednesday morning and make a decision, and you need to gather all this data.
It wouldn't be all the data. My point would be we could start tomorrow. I don't know how sophisticated, that's part of the question.
So ultimately, I guess what I was saying was, if we're going to make a serious decision on this, which is obviously going to be something that's still temporary due to the fact that this minor arterial is going to change again when Main Street is done, we need to have time for them to research options, get the traffic count, look at serious options besides what we've mentioned, because I'm sure there are other options that they may come up with. So I would.
So based on your thoughts is, let's do this on October 2nd. Do the things that we already talked about. Ron already committed to us to do the crossing guard tomorrow. Director Birdie and Chief Howard already done patrol and staged. It sounds like the painting of the intersection could be done tomorrow as well. So things would be put in place, and maybe we'd be better served to do our public works meeting on October 2nd. Sorry, Susan.
I agree with Simon that maybe we need to take a pause here. If we're going to go ahead and paint the crosswalks, put up the signs, add the crossing guards, increase the patrol, we do those things, but then let's take our time to do adequate study as to what changes should be made, because if we do unsupported changes, it could create more damage or more danger. So I would want to make sure that we've got the data and do what's right. So even that October 2nd date that you're saying, I'm not sure that that would be even necessary. I think we need to do these other things and then determine, have time to have the staff determine, what else might be recommended before we rush in and say there's an arbitrary date that not, I don't even know how soon they're going to be able to paint the crosswalks and put up signs. 1 week or 2 weeks from now, they might not even have that all done yet. I mean, maybe they will. I just.
There's merit in that. What Susan says is, obviously they're going to get done as fast as possible, but I mean, what's a feasible timeline on obviously we can get a cross guard or a guard out there, but what's a feasible timeline on painting and getting up the signs in the middle of the road and stuff? Tomorrow, okay. Okay, so it's still decent, but I do agree with Susan that we want to see what these first changes implement and then hear back from the public. Did it help? Did it, how is it looking before we go and then just slam it down the throat more changes?
Okay, so we're sitting on the 18th. The 2nd would be 2 weeks from now. The 16th would be 4 weeks.
Maybe an update in 4 weeks, and then we could invite them back and see, did this help? Did we get it? Did we accomplish anything?
What about the 25-mile-per-hour signs? Because remember, like the note from that lady, like nobody knows it's 25 because there's not enough signs.
Is that possible to get a 25 mile? Do we have one that we could get out there?
Yeah, there's a westbound one.
Okay.
Chase. Use the mic.
Yeah, eastbound, I'll have to look. I know there's a westbound one that's a block away, but I'll look for a proximity of the nearest eastbound one. If there's not one, that one would require a few days.
That's cool.
For one call locates and things to get in. But.
Yeah, we were already talking about the
pedestrian.
The center.
pedestrian one. Yeah.
Pedestrian one is this one in the
State
center.
law, knee-high
Yep.
one, yeah.
Yep. So,
Then when they do the study, that speed trailer's there, so that has been slowing, so that would have to like be moved.
Well,
then
we'll,
to actually
yep,
do that.
we'll work with that.
Does that record on that, Ms. Chief Birdie?
Our radar trailers do not.
They don't record anything, they don't have,
Nope. They're just for the visual awareness of speed.
so they don't even inside themselves?
Nope.
Okay.
But they do make speed trailers, and there's all kinds of technology you can buy that will do that, so.
Okay,
seems like we have a plan.
we have a plan. Do we need to, we'll review it.
In 2
and,
weeks.
Before we, are we going to agree on October 2nd or October 16th?
2 weeks. I'm for October 2nd.
Okay,
That's
I
fine.
think we can give an update on October 2nd
Okay.
of some sort. It may not have all of the data, but,
Okay.
and maybe the update will be, hey, we're still collecting some things.
Yeah, that's fine. Fair.
all right, so October 2nd, but the things we're going to do immediately are the crossing guard. Don't want to put Chase on the spot again or more, but you think that we're going to be able to put that middle pedestrian crossing sign in the middle of the intersection that we have further down tomorrow. You'll schedule the crosswalk hash painting day or 2 or 3 out, increase signage, which you got to do the locates and that, so it might be within the week, and start to study. Ron, did I miss anything?
Mr. Chair?
And, well, yeah, we talked about increasing patrol and staging the available officers there, so. Someone called out. Was it
Me.
over there or Daryl? Okay.
Director Birdie, do we have any temporary speed humps, speed bumps? I'm just Googling here, and there's the roll-out rubber ones. There's different dimensions to slow speeds at a certain amount. Do we, the city have any of those?
Well, the Public Safety Department, we do not, so.
Okay.
We've never had any speed humps, or we would work with the
Temporary
Public
ones.
Works Department.
Because there's
for
the
any.
concrete ones on 4th Street, but I'm Googling articles here of all sorts, and there's temporary rubber ones you can roll up as a big coil.
Okay.
And
Well,
let me finish, please.
well, I think we've come to the conclusion of what we can do immediately, and that's what
I
this
know,
meeting's about.
immediately
but
we
that
could
would
roll
be
out
the-
a speed hump.
We don't have any. We've already
me
determined
finish.
that.
I'd like to delve into it further, Mr. Chair, because it's a viable option to throw out on a street.
It is a viable option, but I think we know we don't have them.
Okay.
Do we have access to them, Mr. Schragi?
I can review that and bring that information back.
I think that's what Daryl is
Yeah.
getting to.
I'm- Lots of articles to review.
Okay.
It's good.
Any other conversation? All right. With that, we'll bring this to a close as well.